Kia ora koutou. My name's Jayne and I'm the lead researcher for the TLRI project, which is unfolded for you in the website that you see before you. It's been our great pleasure to do a project spanning the last 2 years, trying to understand deeply what dialogues about 2-year-olds look like, how teachers interpret them, and how they change or alter their pedagogy as a consequence. We were approached 3 years ago by a group of teachers who had a real concern about 2-year-olds being in their early childhood spaces. And we really wanted to support them in understanding how they might best be and become alongside 2-year-olds and the older peers in their environments. Their environments had traditionally been oriented towards either infants and toddlers or 3 and 4-year-olds, and somewhere in between these 2-year-olds were getting lost. So I completed a survey with some colleagues prior to starting the study to find out if this was an issue for other teachers. I discovered, to my surprise, that these issues are really important for a number of teachers, a number of services, not only in New Zealand, but also in other parts of the world. We know teachers were really challenged by things like, what do we do with 2-year-olds? What are we going to do when they tip the paints out of the paint pot? What are we going to do when our environments have been set up for these older children? Are they too challenging for 2-year-olds? And most importantly of all, how are we going to talk to them? How are we going to encourage them as learners? How are we even going to conceptualize of them as learners? And so we approach this idea with a methodology which we call dialogism. Dialogism is a way of thinking about our practice which allows us to look at the spaces in between. So it's about what we call subjectivities in play. So we're interested in how what we do in these environments shapes learning. So we needed to really start by understanding how 2-year-olds are in these spaces. So the first thing we wanted to understand is, how do they operate? How do they conduct themselves? What kinds of language are they using? Not only verbal language, but a whole bunch of other possibilities. And as you'll see in the site that unfolds before you, that there were a number of different ways this was discovered. Once we understood this, we could then understand how we might, as teachers, alter our practices to support our youngest learners in these environments. And what was a really important discovery for these teachers, as you will see, is that there were a lot of things that were happening for 2-year-olds, both with their peer group, both with objects, and also in very complex dialogues with teachers, and in complex groups within those, with objects, teachers and peers, that were very different to how teachers had conceptualized them both as learners and as members of the early childhood community.